Yes. What up? I'm super hyped today. I'm super excited. I hope you can see it. I hope you can hear it. I hope you can feel it. Why am I super excited today? Because today is episode 100 of the Format Podcast. That's right, the 100th episode. And to all of you listeners, viewers, if you've been with me from the beginning, thank you so much for hanging in there. We've had some gaps, we've had all of that, we've got a lot of stuff going on, but we still making it happen and we're trying to make it better every time out. All right. So, episode 100, we got some special guests today. We got Super Bowl champion wide receiver with the New York Giants, Mike Jennings, coming on to talk football. We got Jacksonville Jaguars beat reporter for the Florida Times Union, John Reid. He'll be on. We have our NBA analyst, Andy Noel, and we have basketball scout extraordinaire, Ian Powers. So all of these guys are on to come on, talk sports, and really celebrate the show with us. All right. So before we get to all that, you know what we got to do. We got to hit the particulars. And I'm going to keep it as brief as I can because I'm so excited to bring the rest of the show to you. Okay. So, first, if you're on YouTube, you know where to find us. But in case you don't, maybe somebody passed you the link or whatever, all you got to do is hit YouTube, type in the search bar, the Format Podcast. We will pop right up. That's the Format Podcast. Type it in the search bar, we'll pop right up. Okay. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button in the lower right corner of your screen and click the bell so you can be notified whenever we drop new content. Okay, once the show is over, if you like it, please go back and click that like button. Give me that thumbs up. If you don't like it, hey, don't click the like button. I'm not that guy. But if you do, and I know you will because you love sports, and if you didn't, you wouldn't be here listening to me, click that like button. All right. Thank you. Also, if you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, we are wherever you get your audio podcast. We're on Stitcher, we're on Podbean, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Overcast, and now we are also available on iHeartRadio. That's right. Just type in the Format Podcast, we'll come right up. All right. And if you're listening on iTunes, please go and give us that 5-star review. We would love it. It helps us move up in the rankings, helps me continue to bring you this content. Also, wherever you listen, leave a comment. Tell me you love it. Tell me you hate it. If you do, it doesn't matter to me. I love the interaction and it lets me know you are listening. Thank you so much for that. If you're on social media, check me out on Twitter at Bruce F.A. Hope. That's at Bruce F.A. Hope. If you're on Instagram, the handle is at the Format Podcast, at the Format Podcast. If you want to shoot me an email, I check that too. You can email me at the Format Podcast at outlook.com. The Format Podcast at outlook.com. Go ahead, tell me you love the show, you hate the show. I'm an idiot, I'm a genius. I don't care. Like I said, I love the interaction. You can suggest topics for you want me to discuss. You could tell me where I'm wrong, tell me where I'm right. All right. So thank you so much for all of that. Now, it's time. It's time. It's time. Let's get to it. Episode 100. Yeah, I said it. Episode 100. Sit back, relax, and listen up to episode 100 of the format. All right, joining us to talk some NFL today, especially the Jacksonville Jaguars, is Florida Times Union Jaguars beat writer John Reid. What's up, John?
Hey, doing good, man.
Good. And of course, we talking about the NFL. We're talking with our resident Super Bowl champion wide receiver from New York Giants and Jacksonville native, Mike Jennings. Mike, what's good, man? Welcome back.
What's up, bro? Good to see you. Good to run my mouth with y'all a little bit today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Gentlemen, I appreciate y'all taking the time out to talk with me, especially on this special 100th episode of the Format Podcast. So, I'm in rare company today for this milestone. So thank y'all for that.
Appreciate it.
Congrats, brother.
Absolutely. So, John, we're gonna go ahead and get started with you. Obviously, there's been some major changes and storylines with the Jaguars this offseason. Unless you're living under a rock, most people gonna know about it. Obviously, number one, there's the addition of new head coach Urban Meyer, one of the best in college football history, but a rookie to the NFL. That's a story in itself. Number two, the Jags getting the number one overall pick in the last draft and drafting quarterback Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson, who most people see as just a generational talent. Um, and the third one is obviously the Jags bringing in hometown hero Tim Tebow into camp to try and earn a spot on the roster as a tight end after being out of the league for more than 6 years, which that's crazy, but we'll get to it. John, what do you think is the most important storyline going into the 2021 season?
Well, it starts with the head coach. I mean, you look at Urban Meyer, you look at his track record. He never had a losing season in 17 years as a college coach. He won 2 national championships at Florida. He won another one at Ohio State. And I said this earlier today. I mean, he probably, to me, in my opinion, he's probably got the biggest bullseye in the league right now. You know, you know, ask Michael. I mean, there's coaches in that league. It's a respect among the league coaches who they value coaches win Super Bowls. They value the coaches who've been through the grind, came up through the grind. Get head coaching jobs after serving as assistants, and it's almost like the police department. It's like it's a unity within, and then when you have somebody that comes out, doesn't exactly fit the mold. I mean, he achieved all this success on the college level, and you hear all the praise he's getting, and you're hearing that. He's the guy. Don't think that coaches don't know what he's making and what kind of contract he's got.
Right.
And he has to go show it. It's like NFL coaches don't care if he won a national championship at Florida. Not in their league, it's a whole new ball game. And I think that there's questions. I mean, can he handle losing? Can he turn a team that went 1-15 into respectability? I mean, I don't foresee them winning 10 games.
No.
Competing with Tennessee for the division title, but maybe 6 or 7 wins is a possibility. But I think that when he came in, he's already made a few mistakes. He's learning as he go along. And you talk about a coach that's got a 7-year contract, so he's got room to make some mistakes. He's got room to there's just a different. I say this. I mean, when Doug Marrone was there, there was always a question of who really was in charge. You really didn't know who was in charge. And I don't think Doug Marrone had the complete authoritative persona of he was in control. But with Urban Meyer, man, it's like everything runs through Urban. Urban got power that's probably since Coughlin.
Okay.
Maybe even have a little more than Coughlin, and that automatically draws the respect of the players. But he's got a lot to prove, man. He got a bullseye. He's got to turn the franchise around that went 1-15, and the question is, can he handle losing? And that's the storyline, I feel.
Fair enough. Hey, Mike, I'm gonna jump over here to you. As we were just talking about Urban Meyer, he in the head coaching ranks is a rookie. So you've obviously been there as a rookie in the NFL, trying to break into that. You know how hard it is. Take us back to your rookie season in the NFL. How was your first camp? What was that like, trying to get acclimated to the NFL game, trying to make plays, trying to get the coach's eye on you so you can make the cut? Obviously, Urban Meyer's job is guaranteed, but along the lines of being a rookie and trying to fit in and trying to find your spot. Kind of take us back and tell us about that experience, what it was like for you.
Man, well, you already know mine was a little bit different than
Yeah.
most stories in NFL. And I can just remember coming off that track from being a track athlete and coming trying to make it in NFL. It was tough, man. Just on my body. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Just I didn't realize how much abuse that your body take, not just from in the NFL, you don't get hit during camp. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Once if you don't know how to hit, by the time you get to the NFL, the guys are worth too much money, so it wasn't no tackling. So me
mm,
not playing football since high school, it was a shock for me. You know what I'm saying? In my body, it was pretty tough, man. And just like I was hearing y'all talking earlier about around the NFL and how NFL coaches feel about Urban Meyer coming from being a college coach. It was kind of like that for me also, from coming off the track and people feeling like, man, this guy don't even deserve to be here. He ain't playing
mm.
college, you know what I'm saying? So it was a lot I had to show. And just when it come down to it, just shoot, just like with any other business, you have to show your value. So
Mhm.
when I went out there every day, I wanted to show to the coaches and to the organization why I need to be there. Dude, like I always, speed kills. I was running, baby. They see me.
Yeah,
Put the
yeah.
spotlight on me, baby, already. Yeah.
I hear that. John, why don't you tell us what have you seen so far in minicamp and OTAs, especially from Trevor Lawrence? And you briefly mentioned Urban Meyer in terms of the control that you see he's seen to have taken over the franchise. But what have you seen from Trevor Lawrence and Tim Tebow, of course, and maybe some other impact players on the roster?
Well, let's start with Trevor Lawrence. You know, eh, like with anything, he's going to have some growing pains. He had some
Hmm.
practices where he didn't do too well in red zone. Trying to complete passes in red zone, and he had 2 pick six in a practice, and
Mm-hmm.
some underthrows, some overthrows. But you take a one bad practice and then you look at you just go through the whole OTAs. He had a lot more better practices than bad
That's
practices.
what I like to hear, baby. That's what I like to hear.
And the thing about him is, man, I watched football a long time, probably a lot on, growing up on television.
Mm-hmm.
You watch guys, from Kenny Stabler to, you on down the line. But this kid is special, man. I mean, hey, special is in the way that, he could tight window throws. He make them look effortlessly. I mean, it don't even like phase him. I mean, he can put number. Most of his passes go straight to the numbers. It doesn't matter if it's a out route or across the middle or a deep ball throw. The receiver doesn't really have to do anything. He catching the ball in stride. He's leading the receiver. One of the biggest
Mm-hmm.
things I thought that a guy like Blake Bortles and a little bit of Garner Minshew, a lot of their problem is they didn't know how to lead the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Mm-hmm.
ball coming and you running into the ball. So
Right.
you got separation where it doesn't. You don't, number one, you don't break stride, but
Right.
also he's putting that ball in a position that there's no way in the world. He might drop it, but he's not going to be intercepted. He's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
where the ball is in place where safety can come and just off it and grab it. And I mean, his mechanics, his throwing mechanics is excellent. His footwork they don't have to do anything. He came as a finished product in that category. And some things that he's got to learn. He's got to learn. Their offense. Obviously, he's got to learn when to. If you got a back flaring out or you got a safety coming up, he's got to pick that spot real quick of where he's going to go to. Sometimes he looked too much into the primary receiver a little bit, but that's just all that's, those kinks that can be worked out in practice, and he's got mobility, he's got mobility, he can run. And it's just that, Jacksonville have not had we talking about, I'm based on OTA practices and a minicamp, but Jacksonville has not had a quarterback like this kid, man. They got a quarterback coach, but hey, he ain't got to spend a whole lot of time trying to work on, his mechanics or anything. And then, go ahead.
That's interesting that you mentioned the tight window throws, because for me, when I was watching all the lead up to the draft and all the breakdown and anything and everything, and my thing was even watching the entire last season, I was always a proponent of Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence. And one of the things I saw was Justin Fields making laser tight window throws up at Ohio State. Meanwhile, to me, it looked as if Trevor Lawrence was always throwing to receivers just running free, just throwing to a spot, and these guys are always wide open. So I wasn't sure that he would be able to make those. So it's interesting, from me, that you say that from what you've seen early, that he is able to make those tight window throws. Now, going over to Mike as our resident champion wide receiver, how important is it to you that the quarterback, we take it for granted, I guess, that an NFL quarterback should be able to do this, but how important is it to you that a quarterback is able to lead you and place the ball exactly where you need it so that you could catch it in stride, or that you can try to make a play as soon as you catch it, or it's where you need it to be? How important is that? And how regular is it, and how rare is it?
I think it's real important, and just some people just like we talk, Bruce, man, we always we go back and forth about this thing, this quarterback and everything, and it's about time now that we finally finna see what's going on. And I just love what I'm hearing in my ears right now about John, what he's saying, because he done seen it himself, and he sees some people just got it. They just got it. And when he was talking, it seemed to me like he's talking about, we said Trevor Lawrence, but I call him Sunshine, you know what I'm saying? He just got it. And like I played with a lot of quarterbacks, from Tom Brady to Eli Manning, Kurt Warner, a lot of these guys. But I also, having a lot of my career on the practice squad, playing with a lot of the backup guys, and it's not even just about leading. Sometimes it's just touch, you know what I'm saying? Or it's just the confidence of when you in the huddle with a certain person you're going to practice, and with certain quarterbacks there, it's just something about, it's just they got it, you know what I'm saying? So it's about being a leader. And I just really think that Sunshine got that, what we talk about. And I'm excited about it, baby.
Okay.
Another thing, Bruce, when you can see a guy that can roll out, just let's say we're on a rollout pass. See, I saw one day he did a rollout. He rolled out to his right, and it was DJ Chalk. He was running like a fly pattern, and it just like he threw across his shoulder, stepped into the throw. A rush was coming at him. And he stepped into the throw, and he threw it like 65 yards, and it's like a bullet going cross field. That's God gift. That's nothing like how many years of experience. He's got gifts that a lot of guys don't have, and then the thing is that they got to utilize. One thing about Clemson, I don't think they utilized him in all the ways he could have been utilized, I
don't think they needed to.
As a quarterback at Clemson.
Yeah, I don't think they needed to. So John, another question for you. Are you kind of getting an idea yet of what type of offensive scheme Urban Meyer is trying to install? How much of his college principles do you feel like he's bringing with him, and how much is he relying on a longtime NFL coordinator, Darrell Bevell, who's his offensive coordinator? What do you see on that front?
Looks like more Bevell than Urban offense.
Okay.
It's like they got a variation of a West Coast offense where they're, you lining up receivers, three wide on trips and those kind of things. But from what I'm hearing, Urban is a guy who likes to run the ball. So I'm also, we didn't see a whole lot, but I'm surely they're gonna. If you look at the tight ends that they have, I'm surely they're gonna They might even run some schemes where they got double tight ends just for the run game, But I think that what they're looking for, he's looking to utilize obviously speed, obviously looking at different ways like Travis Etienne, I wouldn't be shocked if he's in the slide. I saw him line up wide in the Maroons offense. I never saw the tight end line up wide. Absolutely the widest guy on the field. He did that a couple of times in a practice with James O'Shaughnessy. So I think it's just going to be a lot of variation just to maneuver, kind of fool the defense and things. Okay. But I think
a lot of window dressing.
Yeah, a lot of window, a lot of guys, running guy in motion. I saw a lot of motion plays. And I think, just be a mix of that. But I think, I think with a guy like Urban, he's going to use what he has. What is his advantage? He's got good receivers. He's got great running backs. And I think he's going to utilize those playmakers. I think you're going to see a lot more, I don't think the offense is going to be generic as it's been in the past. I think he's going to utilize guys, get them in open space, take advantage of what he has. Now, the problem might be how well is this offensive line, particularly at the tackles.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
So, John, before we get back over to Mike, another question for you. You said it. Here's the elephant in the room. You mentioned tight ends. What are we seeing from Tim Tebow? What do you think is his likelihood of making the 53-man roster? What have you seen from him in camp? Anything special? Any flashes? Or is he just out there, another guy, working hard to try and make the team?
You just said it. I say this, he's not embarrassing himself. I mean, he does. I mean, he appears he belongs on the field, but it's just like nothing he does to me look natural. When they go through drills, it's almost like he's thinking. It's like he's got to think to go up, hit the linebacker, then continue his route. Or go through the drills with his foot. It looks like he's looking at his steps when he jumping over the bags and doing different things, the agility drills. It looks like he's thinking. But I will say this about him, something that did stand out. I mean, he caught everything that, we didn't go to every practice, but as far as the open practices, he didn't drop a pass. He didn't put any pass on the ground. But it's just, but when you look at the numbers, Man-Hurts, he's nowhere near Man-Hurts. He's nowhere near James O'Shaughnessy. Look like Luke Farrell is ahead of him. Tyler Davis is ahead of him. There was no splash plays. A lot of his passes was in the red zone, where he was just curl route going in 5-10 yards out and catching the ball in the end zone. So there's so much more that he has to show that, he's got to show if he could, go across the middle, get hit and get up, don't fall down. Or, we got to see if he can get separation. I mean, I think he has the intangible. I mean, he's not a guy that's out there looking for special privileges. Every time I saw him, he's asking guys questions. I'm assuming he's asking guys questions. He's always talking to a teammate. When he wasn't on the field, he's standing next to the tight ends coach. So he has the willpower, but I wrote something earlier about 2-3 weeks ago. I really feel that his best option, to be realistic, is probably, because I think he is so much that he has to learn, and they really got 3 guys. I think right now, if you did an official depth chart, he would probably be 4th or 5th on the depth chart. So to overcome 3 guys, I guess in order for him to make the 53, he would have to be at least a 3rd string tight end. And I just think that he's got so much that he's got to work on and learn. I think the practice squad would really be his best avenue. And, with the new rules that were put in last year, on the practice squad, they're going to move, 2 guys get moved up each week on game day to be on the active roster. So that could be for his benefit, but there's no way I see him jumping ahead of James O'Shaughnessy or even jumping ahead of Luke Farrell or any of those guys. And I just think it's going to be tough for him to be 1, 2, or 3 on their depth chart between training camp start and going into September before they make that final cut.
So Mike, again, from that player perspective with you, so John just talked about how he feels like Tebow is doing a lot of thinking out there on the field in terms of it coming less than naturally. Did you ever find that, you going through, 4 years of college and as a track star and not playing football, did you find when you got back to the NFL, when you got there, that sometimes you were doing more thinking instead of instinctually playing? Was that something you experienced?
I mean, yeah, I mean, absolutely, because I always know that the NFL is 93% mental. Everybody
Mhm.
good, everybody physical, everybody fast. But when I kind of got down to it and kind of I was a little shell shocked, or what do you call it when you see I've been playing video games my whole life and now I'm finally on the field. So
Mhm.
me being on the field with Ty Law or
Uh,
you know what I'm saying, or with Terrell Owens and
mhm.
Garrison Hurst, all these people, I'm like, it would felt good just to be with these people in the locker room and finally get on the field with them. But then once everything settled in and I started to learn the game, uh, that's what really came to when you can actually play full speed and really study your plays and know the playbook and feel comfortable. That's when I really played my best football.
So how was that in terms of the learning curve? You mentioned learning the game and then becoming comfortable. Obviously, it's a totally different thing for a guy like Tebow, who's played one position his entire career. Now he's trying to switch over, especially after a long layoff in his career, in that particular sport. You, another one, long layoff. You didn't have to switch positions, but how much was that learning curve for you in terms of, really being able to think and feel the game and have it be more instinctual for you?
It was good, especially at wide receiver. It was more like one the more you study and the more you and me, I guess me being the coaches understanding, first of all, me being a speed guy, I brought attributes. So and they knew that I was young and off the track, they only gave me the X. So it was different from when I just can concentrate on one position instead of knowing X, Y, and Z and the W. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
What everybody do. So sometimes when you're doing that, when they can simplify the playbook for you, it can make you go a lot better. And man, it was so much better once I mentally got comfortable out there on the field. Oh man, now I can play full speed. Now I can show my track speed. Now I can play. And I always said, man, when I go back to we played the Ravens on national TV, and this was my first time ever starting, man. And it was Plaxico Burress was hurt, so I moved up. I was the number 2X, and it
Mhm.
was me and Amani Toomer out there. He was the Z, I was the X, and the first play of the game, Eli came to me and I caught the ball. It was a nice pass. In the first half, that's the actual game I tore my Achilles, but I had about 3 completions. But I can remember going to the sideline thinking to myself, it finally feel like I'm in Sweetwater. You know what I'm saying? It finally feel like
Mhm.
I'm playing Pop One a little bit. And that's just because of the mental aspect. I got comfortable because I had no plays I knew I was doing. So now I can kind of just relax and play football, man.
Okay. Back to you, John. So, in terms of the Jags, last time they had real success on the field was 2017. They made the run all the way to the AFC Championship game where they eventually lost to who else? The great Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. But that season, their success was built on the back of a dominant defense. That unit since then has fallen off significantly in terms of talent and production. Um, do you see improvement on the horizon for that side of the ball, both in terms of personnel and schematically?
Well, that's the 411 question because there's nothing you can determine that during the off-season program. I mean,
Mm.
you got a Joe Cullen and they going with a new defense, a 3-4, and I will say this. I mean, I think it got guys in their natural positions more. I mean, I think that Josh Allen can be utilize his gifts as athleticism, is getting on the outside. He's shown even in his rookie season for a few times that he could cover tight ends. You look at K'Lavon Chaisson, he doesn't have to go up there and have a losing battle against bigger tackles. He can just use his athleticism and get off the edge that way. So I think that in itself, with the scheme that kind of fits the personnel better than what they were doing last year, helps the defense. But it all comes down, do they have enough on the defensive front? Do they have enough? Is Malcolm Brown the answer as a nose tackle? They still, from publicly, they still trying to give a shot to see what Taven Bryan has as a big end,
Oh Lord Jesus, no. No.
And I really feel Taven Bryan ain't gonna make it. Personally.
Excuse me. You a professional. Let me say it. It's sorry as hell. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm tired. Somebody need to say it. I'm gonna say it.
You right to say it. I mean, you a former NFL player. I mean, how many? I feel that if a guy, and you might know this better than me because you played the game, but if you've given a guy all these chances and you don't see results after 2, 3, I mean, this guy done had 3 years to show what he can do. If you and I said this on your show before, Bruce. If you can't be, as a defensive guy, if you can't be instinctive, like if you can't be instinctive enough to stop fighting the guy with the block and just slide over to make the tackle, right. And you can't do that, and you still tussling, tackling with the offensive guy, and he done drug you out the play. You done basically took yourself out of the play. Then and you continue to do that. You've been in the league for 3 years or whatever it's been since 2018, and you still only have one pass rush move, which is a bull rush. You don't you don't use your arms. You right. No swivel, no get the guy off me. Find some way to get this blocker off me to make a play. And if you ain't got it, it's here. It's John, right here. It's in the heart.
Let me say one thing, John. Since we were just saying, but what we call that is that first, second, third round privilege. And Bruce, you was asking me earlier, how was it me from coming to the league and being a free agent? When I stepped on the field, every day, my training camp and my preseason was just like a Super Bowl, because every day I had to show the coaches, the organization, why I wanted to be on that team. I had to show, son, you never played football in college. Why should we choose you over these people who've been playing 4 years in college? We've got money. We done paid these people. Why should we have you here? But that's that privilege of sometimes you get some draft picks, they come in, and they really don't have to show, and they get time to get nurtured. They'll get babied a little bit. They get time to grow. Well, some free agents be a little bit more hungry. You know what I'm saying? Just like what's our running back? Isn't he a free agent?
Yeah.
Robinson?
Yeah, Robinson, undrafted rookie free agent.
We ain't got to ask no questions about that man. He go out there and make plays, but he had to if he wanted to make plays. But just to get off, man, we need to do different in that. And I believe when it comes to the Jaguars, that's with us being successful. Now, I heard John say that he's seen about 6 wins, right? I see 9, but I'm a faithful man. I'm a man of faith. I see 9.
I hope a little too much.
I want to see that many too.
Yeah.
But I believe that's going to come first. It's going to come from the trenches. Yeah. On the defensive side, offensive and defensive side, we're going to have to see what this defense is going to do. And it all starts up front. And like you're saying, from that tight end, I'm really excited and curious to see what we're going to do. We need a strong foundation at that tight end. And I'm not for sure if we have that yet, but I'm excited for training camp, excited for the preseason to see what's going on.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this of both of you. what does this team need most in order to have a quality improvement this season over last? I'll start with you, Mike.
Well, I believe I want to put it out there. I think that we have a lot of what it takes right now as far as pieces, as far as our offensive weapons, as far as the run game, like I just mentioned. I mentioned the running back Robinson. We just got this superstar. You, like John was talking about earlier, a quarterback who just got it. And some of the words when he was talking, it kind of sounded like Peyton Manning to me. But you know, Bruce, I know you're gonna get mad. I know you want to talk about your boy there in Chicago. I know you want to talk about your boy in Chicago, but for me, I'm glad I heard it out of Mr. John's mouth. The boy sounded like Peyton Manning to me. But anyway, we're gonna go. We got a strong quarterback. We have great receivers, a lot of weapons at receivers. But when it comes to me, it's all about the trenches. And that, like I said, that defensive and offensive line. If they're strong, that's where it starts at. And Jaguars always had a hard-nosed defense. We have to get that hard-nosed, that thug back there, that black hat. We need to bring the black hat back out. And it's starting from the D-line. I'm not for sure about the linebackers and all these pieces, so I'm kind of curious. John has been there. He can see. I want to know. You have to tell me, man, about this defense. I would like to hear. Please let me know what's going on.
Well, let me say about the defense. I think the team speed is obviously they improved on the speed. I think that Shaquille Griffin is going to be a stud, man. I mean, I think that what he showed in practices, going up against the DJ Chark, coming away with plays. I think Rayshawn Jenkins and Shaquille. I mean, I think they got a connection. It just seems like they work well together on the field. The question mark is on the other side because we didn't see anything from C.J. Henderson or Tyson Campbell. Basically, both of them was hurt, you know. But Tyson Campbell is big, so he can play he can play the nickel. And but I think a lot gonna be riding on C.J. Henderson if he's into it. Is he better than what he was last year? And we haven't seen enough of him. You know, he wasn't on the field enough because of the injury to get a good valuation on him. At linebacker, I'm not a big fan of Joe Schobert, but he's gonna get pushed. And I mean, I really feel Damian Wilson looked like to me is a guy that could be started before it's said and done. I mean, he's experienced, he's bigger, he's aggressive, and he fits that 3-4 a little better than Schobert do, in my opinion. I think that on the defensive front, the guys that they brought in, like Roy Robinson Harris, got a lot of skill set, man, you know. And I don't know where Jihad Ward, is he going to be as an end or maybe even playing as a linebacker? But I think their defense going to be a lot of pieces are going to be moving around, so to speak. I think they got several guys on that front that's playing multiple positions. And I like the speed. I just don't know. I don't know if they got enough. You know, if the guy get hurt, if Malcolm get hurt, then what do they got behind him? I mean, I like Hamilton, the Devon Hamilton, but you know, I still want to see more from a guy like Adam Gosses and people like that, and definitely they don't need to rely on a Taven Bryan, you know. And I also think that you know, that Urban is gonna push those guys, man. I mean, I think every time they go in that practice field and training camp, they're gonna feel, particularly the defensive front, it's gonna feel like their jobs are on the line, which they are. You know, he's not gonna settle. He's not gonna. I mean, I thought too many times last year that it was just guys where they just, you know, the depth was so bad that they didn't have no fear factor, and they just had them out there. I think now you got more quality depth, and you got guys who want to get it and be starters, and I think you got some competition going on, and I think the guys that don't get it ain't gonna be on the field. And if they're on the field at the start, don't mean they're gonna stay on the field at the end.
And the main thing that I hear you saying is that I love, and I love so much, especially starting from the head, is change. I think that Jacksonville was in dire need of change. And even though I know we have some people who are a little skeptical about Urban Meyer because he was in college, but I love the move. I know we need a change, and I believe that I like the move. And from hearing out of your mouth right now, it seems to me that I hear a lot of positive. Like you say, we do have made some mistakes, and I understand that this is our first year, but I like the move, and it seems to me like this is a good man to head this team and lead us into victory.
Well, you know, one thing, man, I like a head coach. You know, he don't have attachments. You know, I think that's big. I mean, he does have some attachments for the guys that he drafted in April. But far as these guys that done been around here and they done been here, we know what their stories are. We know what their production been. And they've been, right, and they've been coasting. You know, they've been like, okay, because Dave Caldwell might have liked them, then they just stuck around. And I tell you, this guy, I give you an example. You know, even though it's kicker, Josh Lambo, his job is on the line.
Really?
And that's just for a kicker.
And that's saying a lot.
This guy got probably every kicking record and all that. And he said that, well, you know, the spring practices and the all-season workout, it wasn't about winning and losing. But then again, he's got both those guys out there kicking with Roses and Lambo. And it was like a competition. If Lambo made a 40-yarder, then the next guy up was Roses, and he had to make the same kick at the same distance on the same spot on the field. And if you're going to challenge your kicker who's got all these records and all this, you know.
I'm about to say, because Lambo is a bad man. He a bad man, but I love it, man.
Yeah, but his job is not safe. And that's exactly how they phrased it. They said, we have a kicking competition. There's nobody ahead of no one right now. And we're going to continue this kicking competition when we come back from training camp. And as Urban said, I want to see who the best man is. That's exactly what it is. He ain't say, well, you know, Josh got these records and he's been consistent since 2017. He ain't say anything like that. He said, it's an equal fight, and we're gonna see who finished after the 13th round.
I believe in Lambo. When you see that man start throwing them hands up, doing like this, no, it's on. I believe in Lambo. He gonna come through. He gonna win the competition now. Yeah. I'm ready. Let's get this thing started. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yes,
well, I'll say I'm not as optimistic about the Jags as you two guys are. You know, it might be some home cooking in these two other Zoom windows here.
Come on, man! I ain't no home cooking with me.
No, I'm not as optimistic as you guys are. However, I do think it obviously can't get any worse, and the Jags will finish third in the division. I think Houston is going to be an absolute train wreck. I think Tennessee is still going to be better than them, and with the addition of Julio Jones, that could be
that's crazy.
Serious.
That's crazy,
right? So you're going to have two All-Pro receivers, and of course, you know, arguably the best running back in football. And then I do believe that the Colts will win the division. I think Carson Wentz getting reunited with Frank Reich, I think that's going to be a huge move. And then of course he's got a stud of a young running back there. He's got a great O-line. The defense is very solid. I think the Colts will probably, you know, obviously at this point in the offseason, we're just looking at it on paper and not assuming injuries because we don't know what injuries are going to happen, although we know they will happen. But, you know, just saying everybody's healthy, just laying it that way. I got the Colts, then the Titans, then the Jags, then the Texans. So that's where I am on that. But
I can't wait till we come kick the Colts' butt. Like, you know what? You always, you know, I cannot wait. It's a good hypothesis, sir. You got a good hypothesis, but I promise you, we're going to shock you. I say 9 games. We're going to shock you 1 game. We're going to do a podcast, and you're going to say, all right, Mike, I know you told me. I can't wait.
Listen, Mike, if I'm wrong, you know I'm going to come out and say it. But, I mean, I look at that guy, Jonathan Taylor, and he is I watched him tear y'all a new one twice last year. And that boy, Quentin Nelson, University of Notre Dame, on the O-line, that man is a road grader. He's a road grader. And no, but in all seriousness, now you have a quarterback also there who's more mobile and, who has the bigger arm and can do things and is familiar with Frank Reich and his system. It should be very interesting.
Bruce, don't
Yeah.
forget that the first win of the season came against who last year?
The Colts, baby.
All right, I got you guys. I got you guys. So we'll definitely see what
just
happens.
remind you, they haven't won in Jacksonville in like 8 years. Okay.
Fair enough.
I'm
Fair
about
enough.
to say he called them Colts out. Let's go, baby. I'm about to go get my cleats. Y'all got me all hyped up and ready for some football. Let's go.
You gonna go down there for open trials, Mike?
Nah, I'm too old, baby. I'm too old, man.
Tell them they need a champ on the roster. I got you, man. But
Yeah,
before
man.
I let you guys go, each of you just take a minute and tell me, what do you think would be the biggest surprise of this NFL season, whether it's from the Jags or any other team, whether it's good or bad? What do you think would be the biggest surprise?
You go first, John.
Talking about the overall league.
Overall league, it could be the Jags. What do you think would be the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise would be Patriots play the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl and they wind up winning.
Oh, man.
You get this kid that they got in the draft from Jacksonville, and he come in and just be the next thing since Tom Brady.
Wow.
But just to get
Mac
them back,
Jones, come on now.
Hey, I'm just saying. You say that. I'm just throwing.
Wouldn't that be something?
But wouldn't it be something?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like New England, to be honest. I think they win too much. But
yeah, Tampa Bay actually goes up to New England this year and plays them, and that's gonna be a huge
Yeah, they could see each other again in the Super Bowl.
Wouldn't that be something? I ain't even think about that. Mike, what do you got?
I really just want to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I got to go over to Arizona. For some reason, didn't they get a big time free agent wide receiver slide over there?
I know JJ Watt signed there, and the Hopkins
and
Hopkins went there last year. AJ Green, you're right. Yes.
Green. For some reason, I have a little sneaker. I believe for the surprise, I believe that the Cardinals are going to make a lot of noise this year with JJ Watt. With that, I think it'll kind of come together and gel a little bit over there.
That's a great pick. I'm just wondering, can they run the football effectively? Because Kyler Murray can't do it all. Even with those weapons, he can't do it all. They gotta do a better job of running it. Then again, Cliff Kingsbury's never been a guy who liked to pound it anyway. So he's 100% air raid. All right, guys. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you all taking the time out this afternoon to join me again and really get some good football talk in. John, thank you so much for bringing your expertise in terms of what you've seen out there, covering the team. Mike, thank you for giving us the inside from, that player perspective. That's what I always love to get from you. Thank you so much for that. Gentlemen, appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, man.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Easy, baby.
All right. Just a quick note for you, listeners and viewers. If you're listening to this today, Tuesday, July 6th, 2021, the NBA Finals starts tonight. That's the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Phoenix Suns. Now, you'll hear some references still to the Hawks and to the Clippers. That's because the NBA portion of this episode was recorded about a week ago. That's when I had availability for my two guests to discuss that. So bear with me. You can kind of act like you don't happen. There's still some quality commentary on hoops there. All right. So just be advised that that was recorded about a week and a half ago. All right. Enjoy. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Joining us again on the Format Podcast. This special 100th episode is another guest, our guy, Ian Powers, basketball scout with his ear to the, not the street, but the hardwood. Ian, what's up? Thanks for joining us again, man.
What's up, Bruce? What's up, Andy? How y'all doing?
Always good to see you, my man.
Good. All right, let's get right to it, man. Let's talk some NBA. First, this is probably maybe the hottest NBA topic right now. We're going to talk Scottie Pippen. Obviously, he was on the Dan Patrick show a few days ago. He's got a new book coming out. He's pushing a new brand of whiskey. And a lot of people say that's kind of behind some of his comments that, a lot of people call it crazy. First thing I want to kind of get to is his comments about Phil Jackson being racist. Now that comes from, if you listening haven't heard it, Scottie Pippen said on the Dan Patrick Show interview that he believes Phil Jackson drawing up the play for Tony Kukoc at the end of the game in the 94 playoffs against the Knicks, which Kukoc coincidentally went on to make and win the game, was racially motivated. So, Ian, you're our guest. Let's get started. What do you think about those comments?
I was surprised by him. This whole thing he's been holding on to about, the Kukoc shot and the play that Phil drew up. If you guys watched The Last Dance, and I'm sure you did, they showed when they detailed that incident, they went back and found some footage during the regular season where Tony had knocked down a couple game-winning shots. Phil had confidence in Tony that he could do it again. It was 1.8 seconds on the clock, I think.
Yeah.
The way they drew the play up, it was kind of easy for Tony to catch it. I think he shot it over his right shoulder, if I'm not mistaken, to a strong left hand. So it was the way they drew the play up. It was conducive for the side of the floor they were taking the ball out on to get it to a left-handed guy that catches. He can just turn over his right shoulder and make the shot. And that's what ended up happening. I thought Phil was vindicated by the fact that the play worked.
Right.
Made the shot, they won the game. End of discussion.
Yep.
But we still, 27 years later, Scottie's still talking about it. And he even admitted on The Last Dance that he would have done it the same way that he did it back then, knowing what he knows now. So, I was a little surprised by it. All these years, all the Black players Phil has coached over the years, nobody's ever levied this type of accusation against him all these years. And so, just to give you some background about that situation, or about my indirect knowledge of that situation. And I think I may have mentioned this to you guys before, but Craig Hodges was a good friend of my brother-in-law's. They grew up together, played high school ball together. They played with Steve Fisher in high school, who went on to be the head coach of the Fab Five at Michigan. So he's known Craig. My brother-in-law's gonna be 60 in August. So, you're talking about from the age of probably 14 to now. So how many years was that? 44 years, something like that. So he's known Craig for over 40 years. And we know, Craig's history and his background, and, how outspoken he is about issues in our community.
Yep.
The man wore dashiki to the White House when they won the championship in '92, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So, you can't get more pro-Black or woke or whatever term you want to use than Craig Hodges. And I've had, a bunch of different conversations with Craig over the years about playing with MJ, playing on those teams, because he won, I think, their first 2 championship teams he was on. So he's never uttered to me anything about Phil being a racist. As a matter of fact, when Phil was coaching the Lakers, his second go around with the Lakers, 05 to 2011, Craig went and worked for Phil. And again, as pro-Black as Craig is, he got effectively blackballed out of the league because y'all remember he gave President Bush a letter at the White House on their visit. I believe it was about apartheid in South Africa or something like that. So he effectively got blackballed out of the league because of that. So you telling me that a dude that is that in tune with our community and the struggles that we deal with as a community in this country, would go to work for a man that he knows to be or at least thinks is racist? That, that, as they say in the South, man, that dog don't hunt to me. So, I kind of took it with a grain of salt. It's ironic that all this is coming out now, that he got a book coming out You know, and so I was in a room the other day on Clubhouse, and it was this guy named I can't think of his name right now, but he was just making the case that, oh, because we have a tendency in our community that, you know, we want to label everybody a racist, and we got to be careful with that, because when we really do encounter somebody that really is racist, sometimes it fall on deaf ears, because it's kind of like the boy that cried wolf.
Yes.
You cry wolf one too many times, people gonna stop listening to you, and your message is going to get distorted. It's going to be minimized. It's going to be watered down, basically. And so that was his argument, man. He was just ready to label Phil a racist and take Scottie at his word, because Scottie's experience is authentic to Scottie, and you know you can't tell him about his experience, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, if the only example he can give us is a last second play that was drawn up, I need something more than that before I just jump out the window and label Phil Jackson the racist. Now, he has made some other comments in his book in the past, and a lot of those comments, I took it as a white man being out of touch with Black America. Not so much that he was racist, but he just didn't quite understand our community, our plight, our struggle, and he was talking out of turn. To me, that doesn't make somebody racist, that makes somebody ignorant.
Agreed.
And ignorance is not, and people take ignorance with a negative connotation all the time. Ignorant just means you don't know something.
Simply, yep.
That's all it means. So I'm ignorant about certain things. We all are.
We all are.
Yep.
So I just felt like, you know, some of those comments that they tried to pull up from Phil's book were made out of a place of ignorance, not necessarily a place of any hatred or racism or you know, anything like that against Blacks or anybody else. So yeah, I was surprised by it, man. Like I said, I think now mind you, I will say this: if more information comes out, if Scottie has some other instances in his book that come out, I have a right to change my mind once I'm presented with more information. But based on what we have right now, I'm not willing to go that route.
Andy, let me get quick thoughts from you on Scottie Pippen's commentary, whether it be regarding Phil Jackson or whether it be regarding his commentary calling Michael Jordan selfish or feeling like he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for the role that he played in the 2 3-peats and the 6 championships.
I think Scottie's problem, as you know, right? I was for the better part. I'm still to now, right? I was a big fan of Scottie Pippen's game, right? Versatile player, athletic, long, right? Essentially a great pairing for Michael Jordan, right? I don't think Michael Jordan ever had a guy that could probably complement his skill set like Scottie's could, right? Tough on defense when you got to deal with both of those guys, right? The resume speaks for itself. Having said that, right, Scottie Pippen has a habit of putting his foot in his mouth. He has a habit of making decisions that don't age well, and this is yet another one of those examples. Just in terms of man code, right? It's a violation across the board. And I don't think Scottie Pippen thinks Phil Jackson's a racist, as evidenced by him going to work as a special assistant for the Lakers when he was looking for a gig, right? I think, again, this is another example of Scottie essentially looking at his career through the way the media has presented his career as it relates to Michael Jordan, right? And for whatever their motivations are. And I think Scottie Pippen doesn't have the wherewithal or the self-esteem to be able to say, okay, let me look at this from a big picture perspective and say, okay, I know what I did. I know how I was portrayed. And I know those two don't work well together. Having said that, there are instances on film and on record of what my impact was. I should be comfortable enough within myself to be able to say, you know what, that's good enough. But not everybody's built like that, right?
Yeah.
But but there are no surprises here, right? Calling Jordan selfish and all the rest of the stuff. He wore Jordan's shoes. He was asking Jordan to come back. It's almost as though this guy operates in this space where it's almost like he said something 5 minutes ago. And then when you say, hey, Scottie, why'd you say that? Why'd I say what? It's like,
right.
Like, bro, you just said that. There's impact from it, right? It's almost childish, right? Again, when I say he's a transactional guy, his son is trying to get drafted, right? I have no idea what the implications could be, but they ain't gonna be good right? Because it's almost as though he puts himself in really bad situations. And if you just, again, if you can look at it 10,000 feet up, you say to yourself, bro, this just wasn't well thought out. You didn't really make the right call on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's pushing to Ian's point, he's pushing a liquor and he's pushing a book. I don't know if this is going to have the best impact on it. And I'll close it out by saying this. Shaq is the first guy that came out and said, listen, I don't want to get in anybody's business, but Phil Jackson isn't a racist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We will see the rest of the blowback.
Fair enough. So let's move from an all-time great, certified Hall of Famer, multi-time champion, a guy who's pretty much done all you could do in the game, to a couple of current players. Andy, this is another kind of dispute, disagreement, argument, whatever you want to call it, that you and I have had. And what I'm talking about,
we need to record some of those.
I know, right? That would be crazy. Oh, we probably couldn't air those if we recorded them. But no, what I'm talking about here, for you, Ian, and for the listener is the debate of Giannis Antetokounmpo versus Chris Middleton. And I know that sounds crazy. Why are we saying versus? Because these guys are teammates. But when I think the issue is not the issue, but kind of where Andy and I are on this is when we see Giannis and Middleton play together. I've always said that while I think that Middleton is the more complete offensive player, the problem with him for me is that you're never quite sure what you're going to get from Chris Middleton, where you have relative confidence in Giannis's consistency. And so my question now becomes to you as an organization, all right, and you know basketball, more basketball than I could forget. My question is, which would you rather have? Giannis's consistency, you're going to get 28 and 13, or Chris Middleton's higher ceiling due to his better and more complete offensive toolkit?
Giannis.
Okay. Go ahead, expand on that for me.
Giannis is a freak of nature, man. I can go find. I have a better chance of finding another Chris Middleton than I do find another Giannis. Giannis is a freak of nature. You can say what you want to say about his shooting. He's not a great shooter by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
Before he got hurt last night, I think he airballed a 3 and 2 free throws.
Yes.
He has his limitations from that standpoint, but what he's good at, he's great at it. When he gets downhill and gets ahead of steam and it's coming at you 100 miles an hour, there's very few people. I think there's only one guy I can think of that's in the league currently that can rival that, and his name is LeBron James. Outside of that, is Giannis by a mile, and that team wouldn't be what they were without Giannis. Middleton, to me, is a really good complementary piece to him, but you can't build a team around him. And if Giannis is out for the rest of the series, let's see what Middleton can he put them on his back and get them to the finals. I'm not saying he can't do it. I mean, anybody can get hot for a couple games and do it, but I wouldn't bank on that on a nightly basis over the course of an 82-game season, playoffs, and so on and so forth. So I would rather have Giannis than I would Middleton, and by a fair margin. It's not even really a close conversation to me.
And this is where, Andy and I have gone back and forth on this pretty much through this playoff run. And Andy makes valid points about, the holes in Giannis's game, and there are holes. We all know that. However, to me, that consistency is like just being able to count on 28 to 30 and, 10 to 15 boards every night. That means a lot, right? Even if it's not necessarily the prettiest thing aesthetically, or even if it can sometimes make life difficult for teammates, because for the most part, he can only play one way, but you learn to play around that. And I'm sure Coach Bud is a smart enough coach to have designed what offense he has designed around Giannis's strengths. We know that. And for me, I find as good as Chris Middleton is as an offensive player, skill-wise, there's too many nights where he goes missing. Andy, your turn. Go ahead.
So full disclosure, I think I think Giannis is a well-dressed Bo outlaw.
What an analogy.
I think if you put him back in the 90s, he's Bo outlaw.
Uh,
Having said that,
That's terrible, Andy.
that is terrible.
Bo Outlaw couldn't even dribble the ball, man.
Exactly.
we don't know that. We never saw it. But
There's a reason we never saw it, but go ahead.
No,
Andy.
realistically, I don't. So here's my problem, right? It's hard for me to, and I respect the way he plays, right? He plays super hard. I respect his athleticism. That dude 6'11" and is a pogo stick. The weaknesses in his game, though, if you're playing against the right team, can easily be exposed, right? If, for instance, like let's just say everything worked out to where they were playing against the Clippers,
Mm-hmm.
a fully healthy Clippers versus a fully healthy Milwaukee Bucks. I think Giannis takes a significant dip in productivity because you have components on that team, that roster's configured to slow him down,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's gonna have to deal with Zubac. He's gonna have to deal with Ibaka. He's gonna have to deal with Marcus Morris Sr. He's gonna have to deal, and the worst case scenario for him is trying to take Kawhi off the dribble, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, right, I cannot change the circumstances under which he's playing. It is what it is, right? I think if they play against a fully healthy Brooklyn squad, they lose in 6 games at the most, because of those limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this isn't me. I don't know how. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to really to knock on him, but I'm saying Chris Middleton's game is, if I'm designing my offense around Chris Middleton, it makes it easier for me, right? He can take dudes off the dribble. He can shoot, set this off-ball screen, 2 off-ball screens maybe, right? Get him open, and he can attack from there. With Giannis, because a friend of ours said it this morning, you don't know what position he's playing from one play to the next. He's a center, he's a forward, he's a guard. It's like, what are we doing, right? So because he doesn't have a traditional skill set, it's harder, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, for Chris Middleton to settle in. But in terms of his talent, that's not even up for discussion, right? Giannis is a one of one, right? I'm thinking, as I think it through, he's probably a one of one in terms of what his actual just raw talent is.
Mm-hmm.
He's quick, he's explosive, he's long. You can't buy that in the store, right? That's hard to duplicate. But as far as skills are concerned, I think if you put, and I don't know if Chris Middleton is a franchise leader, but I think you can run your offense through him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can run your offense through him all night long,
No.
but I think with his skill set, I think you can run your offense through him. And depending on what the rest of the team looks like, you might be able to get pretty deep in the playoffs. But again, that's supposition. Things are what they are. My problem is when people say, "Oh, Giannis is a 2-time MVP," I'm like, it speaks loudly about what the MVP has become, because the guy who won it twice isn't really good at doing some of the tenets of what the sport actually is, right?
Yeah,
so if you,
but the MVP is not voted on who's the most skilled player in the world.
I don't even know what the MVP is. So
well, he was the best, by far the best player on a team that had the best in the league 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
if that's the criteria, then because I don't know what the criteria is.
I don't know.
So,
there is a set criteria. I don't think they give the voters a list. You got to be this, that, and the other. But if you just look at the history of the MVP,
Mm-hmm.
unless you do something historic like what Russ did a few years ago, and he averaged triple-double
Mm-hmm.
for the first time in however many years it was, unless you do something historic like that, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be the best player on a team with the second, one of the top, either the best record in the league or one of the top 2 or 3 records in the league, and you're going to be that best player. So that's generally how it's been over the years. And he was that guy the previous 2 years.
Fair. Makes sense. Not a hill I'm ready to die on by no stretch of the imagination. Except if me and Bruce are going at it.
Please don't. You're already 0 for 2 with it.
That's a completely different conversation. If it was MVP was being voted on by who was the most skilled player in the league, I mean, KD would be top of the list. Steph would be at the top of the list. Kyrie would be top of the list every year.
Right.
And maybe I framed that wrong, right? I didn't really mean that you had to be the most skilled, but it's like, okay, I look at him, right, and I say to myself, he is to a degree a specialist, right? It's almost like you can only fit him in certain slots, right? And it's like, if that is what we're doing, right? If the guy who's at the paramount, the top player in our league, isn't really capable of doing what everybody else is doing, I have to question what the criteria is. And
how many guys in the league are capable of doing what he does, though? On the flip side.
Right. Good question, right? So because I look at the game, and I've told Bruce this on a couple of occasions, the game has passed me by. I'm completely comfortable with it, right? Because the way that they view the game right now, I can't relate to, right? So for me, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with him being in that. It's just him being in that position. But through the lens I watch the game with, I say to myself, how is this possible? But again, the game's passed me by.
I don't think he's productive as he's been. I still don't think he's utilized properly. He should not be shooting threes at all. His game should be he's a very consistent. He's a very good mid-range shooter.
Foul line down.
He's foul line down. That's where he needs to be. Not 100 times out of 100 times down the floor. He needs to be 15 feet in.
Well, you know what that is, Ian, and you know better than we do. The analytics people are telling them that you got to shoot threes in the mid-range is bad.
You trying to win, or you trying to satisfy the analytics?
Hey, I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying? So at some point, I think it's on Budenholzer. I think this is on their organization to him. The analytics have to go out the window with him. He's a special case.
Right.
Like to Andy's point, he's a one of one. So the analytics almost you have to throw it out the window with him. He has no business shooting threes. I don't have a problem with him bringing the ball down the floor, but if you're going to do that, you still, to me, they still don't have enough shooting around him. Drew Holiday is not a knockdown shooter. Middleton gets hot and cold sometimes. They play, they're sporadic with playing Brent Forbes. They play him sometimes they don't play him. Connaughton is a streaky shooter. And now had they been able to pull off the Bogdanovich thing, who's down in Atlanta now, who's playing against them in the conference finals, coincidentally enough, if they could have been able to get him and paired him with the Drew Holiday addition, and then you got
Lopez
Middleton over there and the Lopez. Now you got enough shooting around Giannis, because I thought he took too much criticism for them bound out the last 2 years of the playoffs. And look, you know what he is. We understand that. That's what he is. So get the pieces around him that are going to complement what he does great. You know what I'm saying? And
makes sense.
They have yet to do that. They messed up on the Bogdanovich thing because they tried to do a deal under the table before they were allowed before they were allowed to even start making deals, and they got caught. And they lost out on the guy who could knock down shots that could have opened up Giannis even more, and could have been a missing piece of them get them over the hump to a championship. Now they still may be able to win a championship, but it would have been a lot easier if they had Bogdanovich over there instead of him being on the opposing team now and killing you like he did last night. So that's that. It is what it is.
Gotcha. So before we let you get out of here, Ian, one more topic here. So what we got to do. It's playoff time. The playoffs have been going for a good 2 months now. Some really good basketball, even though we've had a ton of injuries to star players, but it's been entertaining. It's been interesting. So I will end this off with, who do you have winning the title after these wild playoffs are finally over?
You killing.
Well, you weren't gonna get out of here without me asking you that, bro. You know that.
It's hard to say, man, because
it
you
really
don't know who's gonna get hurt. I mean, before the playoffs started, healthy, fully healthy, I had Brooklyn and I had the Clippers coming out in the respective conferences, fully healthy. Now they're not, and Brooklyn is gone. They're out. And Kawhi has been out for what, 3 weeks now, two or 3 weeks, however long it's been. I don't know, man. I you know, the Clippers, they're interesting to me because I like the fight in them, and I know they're down 3-2 tonight. I just don't know if they're gonna be able to win 3 in a row without Kawhi. So I guess I'll lean Phoenix to still win that series. Even if Phoenix loses tonight, yeah, the pressure is gonna shift, the momentum is gonna shift, but they'll still be at home. And trust me, man, I'm a huge fan of Paul George's talent. I think Paul's one of the most talented guys in the league, but there are just moments where Paul
he tries to throw the game away.
There's some moments where he doesn't show up, but he's a fighter though. And I was just watching Skip and Shannon before we got on, and that's one thing that Skip was saying about him, that he's a fighter, and I've always thought that about Paul. He's a fighter. So he's gonna fight. I just don't know. You know, he's liable to come game 7. He may have another 40-point game tonight and they win, and then game 7 he'll come out 25. So I'll go with Phoenix out of the West, and it's going to be hard for me with this Milwaukee Atlanta thing because we still don't know Giannis's status yet, do we?
No, we don't.
I saw a video. Yeah, I saw a video on that. They slowed it down and showed it from a couple of angles.
Yeah. So if he's going to be out the rest of the series, and if Trey comes back, I don't even know if he's going to come back. He's got a bone bruise. Bone bruise. They don't heal, you know, in a couple days.
No, they don't.
So that series is a toss-up, man. Guess I'll go with Milwaukee.
Okay.
So yeah, I got Milwaukee and Phoenix in the finals, I guess, man.
Wow. Okay.
That's look, don't hold the gun in my head on that. It's a fluid situation, man, as we've seen these last couple months.
You reserve the right to change your mind.
Yes.
And there it is. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Ian, for coming, helping us celebrate this special 100th podcast episode, number 100 with the Format Podcast. And it's definitely been a pleasure having you on, talking hoops.
I feel so honored, man, that y'all want to bring me on this milestone 100.
Definitely, man. Definitely. You know,
man, I feel special, man. I thank y'all, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, you earned it with all the gems you be dropping.
Right. Right.
We ain't just inviting anybody.
Man, I try.
There you go.
I appreciate
all good stuff.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks again, gentlemen, and Ian, we'll see you next time.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right, bro.
All right.
Take care.